You've probably heard people throw 33 around like it's a secret password. 33 vertebrae. Jesus at 33. The 33rd degree. Sounds dramatic. Sounds like some locked door only the chosen can open. But here's the twist. The real 33rd degree isn't handed to you. Nobody grants it. No institution can pin it on your chest. It's a state you step into when your inner world finally stops begging the outer world for permission. Picture your life like a construction site, not the social media version. Real construction, dust, noise, unfinished walls, and right in the middle is you, as a stone, rough, sharp, reactive. Most people stay that way. Life hits them and they chip randomly. Mood swings, impulse decisions, announcing plans, collapsing when pressure comes. That's the profane state. Not an insult, just a description. Living outside your own temple. Letting circumstances be the foreman. Now imagine the other kind of stone. Shaped, measured, carved intentionally. It can bear weight without cracking. That's the initiate, not because they joined something, but because they stopped leaking power. They learned how to hold tension without exploding, how to move through discomfort without running, how to walk through life like they're carrying a blueprint in their chest. And once that happens, reality starts responding differently, not because of luck, because gravity changes when mass changes. So the blueprint begins with something almost too simple. Stop telling everyone everything, not because secrecy is cute, because early stage creation is fragile. A seed doesn't announce itself to the forest. A fetus doesn't ask the world for opinions. A flame doesn't survive wind. You've felt this before, how the moment you talk too much about a dream, it starts to lose heat. You get that little hit of validation, and somehow, the fire goes out later when it's time to build. That's not a personality flaw. That's physics. Speech can be an exhaust valve. Silence, real silence, becomes a pressure chamber. You keep the steam inside. You don't vent it into conversations and comments and "what do you think" texts. And suddenly that pressure has only one direction left. Into action, into discipline, into the kind of movement that actually shapes matter. There's an old idea that a fool multiplies words. Not because words are evil, but because uncontained speech is often just energy leaking from a cracked vessel. And here's what's wild. Once you stop leaking, you start noticing how addicted the world is to leakage. Everybody wants you to explain yourself, prove yourself, justify yourself, overshare so they can feel safe. Modern life is basically one giant, tell me what you're doing so I can compare. You don't have to play that game. You can be present, warm, human, and still unreadable. A smooth mirror, working on a few things. Smile, done. Let mystery do what it does. Not as a gimmick, more like spiritual self-defense. Silence gives you power, but power without structure is a fire in a dry forest. Looks impressive for a moment, then it burns everything down and leaves you exhausted. So once the pressure starts building, the next law shows up like a stern architect: order. Chaos isn't always a curse. Sometimes it's just entropy doing what entropy does. Dust gathers, bodies weaken, minds drift, unfinished projects rot in the corner like fruit you forgot in a bag. Nobody wants to hear it, but disorder is the default setting of matter. If attention disappears, things decay. So when life feels messy, the question isn't, why is the universe attacking me? It's usually, where did leadership leave the room? Order starts inside, not in a motivational way, more like a sober realization. An internally chaotic mind can't impose external order consistently. Clutter outside often mirrors clutter inside. Scattered schedule, scattered thoughts, scattered emotions. And that's where most manifestation talk quietly breaks down. People want the circle, the big dream, the big vision, but their square is tiny. No rhythm, no structure, no systems, just vibes and hope. Hope is sweet. Hope is also not a plan. So you begin to carve time like it's stone. The day stops being liquid. No more "when I have time." 24 hours becomes something you shape. One simple model, 3 realms: work and mission, sleep and restoration, Temple time, growth, family, spirit, study, strength. Chaos happens when those realms bleed into each other. Work contaminates rest. Scrolling contaminates focus. Worry contaminates presence. Sealed compartments fix that. Like watertight doors on a ship, one leak won't sink the whole thing. Order also means triage. When problems rush in, the profane panics and scatters. The master sorts, vital, important, trivial, one thing at a time, foundation before roof. And if that sounds almost boring, good. Boring is stable. Stable is powerful. A cathedral isn't built by emotional swings. It's built by sequence. Then the environment gets recruited. Space molds consciousness more than people admit. A messy room isn't just messy. It broadcasts disorder into your nervous system all day. Cleaning becomes less household chore and more exorcism. Dead objects out, surfaces clear, everything with a place. A clean space becomes a psychic capacitor. It holds charge. You walk into it and you can feel it. Like stepping into a room where someone has been praying or meditating or making art with intention. Something lingers. And yes, this includes the body. The body is the lodge. Appetite is governance training. If hunger and laziness and impulse run the kingdom, the king doesn't exist yet. Rhythm matters. Sleep rhythm, eating rhythm, training rhythm. Not to become a robot. More like becoming a tuned instrument. Because once the body is regulated, the mind stops being dragged around by invisible chemistry. Order lowers friction. Friction lowers wasted energy. Wasted energy is what keeps impossible stuck in the imagination. Now here's where people usually crash. They build some structure, they get serious, they stop oversharing, and then life throws a black tile under their feet. Failure, rejection, loss, pain. And suddenly the old pattern returns. Why is this happening? Maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I'm cursed. That's the moment this blueprint reveals what it's really teaching. Reality runs on contrast, like a piano. Only white keys makes childish music. Black keys make the symphony. Trying to manifest a life with no darkness is like trying to grow muscle with no resistance. It doesn't work. Pain isn't always punishment. Sometimes pain is traction. Without friction, you can't walk. A perfectly smooth floor is ice. You don't glide into greatness. You slip and panic. Still, there's another trap. Romanticizing darkness. Wearing suffering like an identity. Calling cynicism wisdom. Camping on the black tile. That's not mastery either. Darkness is a passage, not a home. Depression can be fixation on black. Mania can be fixation on white. Both are stuck. Both are not movement. Mastery is movement. Step after step. White tile, black tile, white tile, black tile. Compliment comes. Walk. Insult comes. Walk. Winning season. Walk. Losing season. Walk. A strange calm starts forming when neither tile can change your internal temperature, because something in you finally realizes you aren't the tiles. You're the awareness walking on them. And then, this part matters, you stop trying to amputate the shadow. A lot of spiritual people try to become good by cutting off anger, ambition, desire, pride. They repress it, push it down like a beach ball underwater. Looks fine, until one day the ball explodes up and ruins everything. Repressed energy doesn't vanish, it ferments. The deeper law is almost shocking if you've been taught to be nice your whole life. You don't kill the beast, you ride it. Anger becomes the fire of limits. Without it, you become a doormat. Refined anger is boundary, protection, justice, controlled force in service of what's sacred. Ambition isn't evil either. Life expands by nature. Refined ambition is excellence and creation, not fearful grasping. Pride can become dignity and standards. I refuse what is beneath my values, not I'm better than you. Shadow isn't evil. Shadow is unrefined vitality. A practical way to do this is what could be called the Black Mirror Protocol. Invite the rejected traits up in solitude. Envy, lust, aggression, selfishness. Instead of shaming them, ask what they're trying to tell you. Envy often points directly to what you desire, but think you can't have. So envy becomes a treasure map, not a sin. Then assign each demon a job. Aggression guards your time. Selfishness ensures self-care, so giving doesn't become martyrdom. Cunning detects traps. Once energy has a function, it stops sabotaging you. Integration creates wholeness, and wholeness creates leadership gravity. People feel safe around someone who isn't terrified of darkness, inside or outside. Once silence has stored power, order has given it a container, and duality has become traction instead of terror. The tools finally make sense. Square and compasses aren't mystery symbols. They're control instruments for reality. One is structure, the other is vision. One is earth, one is heaven, and the whole game is deciding which one sits on top. When the square sits on top, matter dominates. Circumstances rule identity. Mood becomes a slave to money, health, social opinion, weather, whatever. I can't because becomes the religion. When compasses float alone with no square, spirit dominates in the wrong way. Big dreams, big feelings, no embodiment. The mystic who can't pay rent, the artist who never finishes. Both are dysfunction. Mastery is the intersection. So the 33rd state is when compasses rise above square. Vision dictates reality, not in a delusional way. Bills still exist, bodies still exist, responsibilities still exist, but command structure flips. Inner state becomes the driver, matter becomes the vehicle. That's where materializing the impossible stops being motivational poetry and becomes a daily method. Compasses also do something most people miss. They're boundaries. Circumscribe desires and keep passions within due bounds. Passion is wildfire. If it spreads everywhere, it burns your system. You don't repress passion, you contain it, like a river with banks. Without banks, it becomes swamp. With banks, it becomes turbines. Focus becomes pressure. Pressure becomes movement. Movement becomes results. Then the square comes in like a ruthless friend who loves you enough to tell the truth. Crooked actions, lying, shortcuts, manipulation, aren't sins because an angry God is watching. They're structural weaknesses because gravity is watching. Crooked walls collapse, so you apply the square before actions, contracts, relationships, commitments. Is it straight? Is it true? Is it fair? Will it bear the weight of time? A life built on crooked stones can't hold a big vision. The universe doesn't punish. The universe weighs. Now, here's the part where the creative word enters. Most people speak as background noise, promises, plans, affirmations, constant talking. Nothing changes because the word has no weight, like cheap currency, word inflation, 1,000 declarations with no follow-through. The subconscious stops believing. So when someone says, "I am abundance," while vibrating fear, the signal cancels itself. The pen of fire is different. The master decrees with integrity. Thought, emotion, body and will align into one frequency. Speech becomes rare, clean, precise. Scarcity restores value, and the decree isn't future tense. Not "I will." That keeps life in postponement. The decree is present. I am here and now. Spoken from the center, not from the throat. Embodied, low and resonant like a bell, then sealed with silence. No checking, no poking the seed, no arguing with reality. A word spoken with total integrity becomes a projectile. A word spoken with doubt becomes confetti. And to make all of this stick, ego has to burn. Not self-hatred, weight reduction, Phoenix law. The old identity can't carry the new life. The shell has to crack. Staying in the void between old self and new self is the toll. So when criticism comes, there's no desperate defense. Let the insult burn vanity away. When loneliness shows up, don't sprint back to old drama just to feel like someone. Those daily micro-deaths, yielding petty arguments, doing good anonymously, choosing truth over image, keep the shell flexible. Then sovereignty becomes real. No permission seeking, no justification, calm no, with silence afterward, deliberate pace, steady gaze, emotional immunity. The king sits down internally, and reality starts rearranging around that calm. Now here's the honest truth. Impossible is usually just a vision trying to land in a nervous system that can't hold it yet. A big circle trying to rest on a tiny square. So expand the square. Stop leaking power. Build order. Use darkness as traction. Align vision with structure. Make your word clean again. Burn the identities that keep begging for permission. Then sit on your inner throne like someone who knows life responds to fullness, not need. So do something simple today, and don't overthink it. Pick one law and live it like it matters. Keep the main goal private. Clean one corner like it's sacred. Walk through one uncomfortable moment without running. Speak one decree that you actually mean, then seal it with silence. Move 10% slower, not because you're lazy, but because you're no longer chased by scarcity. Step into the 33rd degree state the only way anyone ever has. Not by being told you're ready, but by acting like you already are.